Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Quantum Alignment Show. My name is Jess Bubbico, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. This is, I think, my third rodeo on the Quantum Alignment Show, and every other time past, I've actually talked about intuition and understanding intuition in our chart. And while we're actually going to be kind of talking about intuition as we talk about openness in the chart, we are going to be focusing on our open centers, which is a little bit different than what I've done in the past. So I'm very excited to be here with you today. We're going to go ahead and dive on in. And it looks like we have a bunch of people who are saying hello in the chat as well over here. So it's good to see all of you. And as always, if you have questions, you can go ahead and drop them into the chat as we go. So my name is Jess Bubbico, and I am a 4/6 emotional manifester. And I believe in a world where the woo is no longer taboo and your weird is your greatest wisdom. I'm currently in a massive transition. So my business as it is right now is jessbubbico.com. You can find me over on Instagram at Jess Bubbico. As of September 1st, we are launching a new brand. So everything is going to be changing within the next week. Kind of wild. It's September already, if you ask me. So what I would say is stay tuned. If you want to follow along on Instagram, I'm actually going to be dropping some $22 intuitive readings on Monday, which people tend to really love. And some other things. We're going to be announcing the actual name of the brand on Monday. So you can follow along on Instagram or go over to jessbubbico.com and you can sign up for my newsletter and you'll get a nice email with all the information there on Monday if you want to follow along with our journey. So I teach people how to connect in with their intuition and their intuitive gifts. And I personally love using human design as a framework to support people in understanding their own unique sensitivities and really understanding and defining what the quote woo is for them, right? What is your flavor of woo? And when I talk about woo, I'm really talking about your own inner knowingness, your connection with your intuition, your connection with that divine pulse that moves through your veins and through your body, whatever that means to you. We all have a different definition of our woo. And for me, I call the woo, you'll often hear me talk about Gus, which I call God, universe, spirit. Everybody has their own words and belief systems and whatever there are. And my belief is there really is, for me, there's no one path. So it's really about, connecting in with your intuition and your woo in a way that serves you and serves you in a way that feels good for you. So that is what I'm excited to chat with you about here today as we dive into our open centers and really understanding the gifts that our open centers have to give us. So we're going to kick off today talking about our open centers. And I would love to just get on the same page about what do I mean when we're talking about open centers. And many of you here may be like human design pros and experts at this point, while some of you may be new to human design. And so what we're going to be referencing and talking about today is any center in your chart. So any of these diamonds and triangles and squares that are white. Now you might say, hey, Jess, you know what? I got this triangle over here, this solar plexus, it's white, but you know what? I've got this 22 colored in and there's half of a line off of it. Is that center still open? And for the purposes of what we're talking about today, some people say open, some people say undefined. We're going to count this as an open center. It's just any center that the actual square or triangle or diamond is not colored in is what we're going to be referencing and talking about today. So I'm going to actually invite you before we get started to pull up your human design chart. Take a look. Which centers do you have open? And if you want to drop it into the chat here and share with us what centers you have open, you can do that. But, perhaps write them down, jot them down on a piece of paper, circle them, or if you can keep them in your memory and keep them in your mind for today, you can do that as well. So what I'm excited to talk about today, this is something I've been exploring. I have a class called Spark, and it's an intuitive development class to support people in developing, again, their connection with their intuition and their intuitive gifts. And many of the people that I work with are practitioners. And so they're wanting to understand how they can better use their intuition to support their clients. And so what I've noticed recently is that there's a lot of, we've been doing the open centers in class and talking about the open centers. And what I'm finding is a lot of people are going, wow, actually, what I'm learning about my open centers and my openness is a lot of how I help my clients, and what I'm able to sense into and understand about my clients and feel, and I feel naturally tuned into for them. Wasn't that interesting, right? That where we are open, we are drawing in information from the environment around us, from the people that we're with. And so a lot of the conversation that I've heard around the open centers is around deconditioning, protecting, and the inconsistency that our open centers can often have. And so these, to me, these 3 points around deconditioning, protecting, and inconsistency with our open centers are really important. I believe they're really important conversations to have. And what I'm excited about today is actually to take it a layer deeper and to introduce some maybe new concepts, maybe not new concepts to you. Who knows? So let's talk a little bit first about this idea of deconditioning. And I'm just going to check in on the chat. We've got a lot of people. We've got a reflector here, which I love. I love working with reflectors. Amazing. Okay, this is awesome. I'm actually reading. I'm like, ooh, somebody may have the name of what we're launching on Monday. Who knows? Okay. Anyways, Cindy's put into the chat how you can go and get your charts. If you don't have it, you can head over to freehumandesignchart.com and grab yours. But it's good to see all of you here. And we have so many people with all different open centers, which is absolutely amazing. So let's talk about deconditioning. So first and foremost, I think that the term, again, this is just kind of Jess Bubbico's thought process. So again, take this, and I have an open head and ajna. So I'm like, you have to take this in and see how you feel about it. But we all need some level of conditioning in our lives. And I think sometimes the idea of deconditioning, or the idea of conditioning, like I've got all this conditioning I have to get rid of. It's like, if we didn't have conditioning, we would have a problem. We have to have conditioning to some degree on this planet, right? When I was a kid, for example, let's say my mom was cooking on the stove and she said, the stove is hot, don't touch it. And if I went up and touched it, I would have burned my hand, which would have been conditioning, right? Don't go up and touch a hot stove. Or that conditioning just from my mom of saying, hey, this is hot, don't touch it, right? It's this belief system that we hold on to so that we can keep ourselves safe and that we can actually be functioning members of society. The beauty about conditioning and, deconditioning and reconditioning is that we have the opportunity to continually shift and change our conditioning, right? I even think about if you've ever known somebody who lives in a house that looks, it's dated. It's from, like, maybe they haven't really changed the decor since, the 1950s or the 1960s. And there's certain things that you do in a house, at that time. There's certain things that certain ways that you decorate the home. We can almost think of that as our old conditioning, kind of holding on to our old conditioning, holding on to an old way of doing things. Well, the beauty about a house is I can go to Target, right, and get the latest trends of this season and go, I'm going to come in, I'm going to wipe out all of this old way of decorating my home, and I'm going to decorate it with all of this new stuff. And the next season, maybe you like Target, maybe you like Pier 1, maybe you like Home Goods. Maybe next season, you're going to say, hey, you know what? I conditioned this room, right? I decorated this room with this one set of things, this one way of doing things. Now I'm going to actually go in, clear it out, and I'm going to put something new in there. And that's, I think, one of the biggest beauties of our open centers is we really have the opportunity with intention and with intention, really, and our focus which is intention, to go in and actually say, hey, I'm gonna shift what's here, right? I'm gonna change it, I'm gonna update it, I'm gonna decondition, I'm gonna recondition in a new way. And that's what I think one of the biggest beauties of our open centers is, realizing we do need conditioning of some kind in order to make shifts and changes in our lives. And the beauty of that is that we have the opportunity to continually renew ourselves, to continually ask ourselves, hey, is this how I want to be showing up? Hey, is this what I want to believe? Is this how I want to be using my open spleen? I think for many of us, we hold on to, because with regards to open centers, and again, this is just my perspective and my opinion, is that, when we're children and we're in that really beautiful 0 to 8-ish time where we're getting conditioned, right? We're being conditioned by our family, by our society to be able to function in the world that we live in, is that we often don't even realize the conditioning that we're holding on to until we go into a new situation where we realize that, hey, maybe that way of doing things isn't the only way of doing things, that I can actually do things in a completely different way than I've been taught. I can remember for myself personally, going and studying abroad in Europe, and I was living in Italy and going, whoa, they do things so much differently than we do them here. And because of that contrast, because of going to a new place, and seeing people doing things so much differently. Now, I come from a big Italian family, so, some of it I was used to from my own conditioning with my family growing up. But it gave me that contrast to be able to go, whoa, hold on. This is the way I've been functioning. Maybe I don't want to do things this way. Maybe there is another way. And so even the idea of deconditioning ourselves and reconditioning ourselves, I think we can see this from this place of great opportunity, that what you choose today, right, in 2021, and the way that you choose to show up today, you really have the opportunity to be able to shift it and change it and upgrade it, just through, again, intention, attention, and making a choice for yourself to maybe dig a little deeper on what's there. And so our open centers, I think even the idea of deconditioning is a huge opportunity for us. It's a huge gift to be able to restart again and go, hey, how do I want to show up, right? Like how do I want to function? What pattern do I want to shift? What pattern do I want to change? Maybe what beliefs do I want to shift for myself? Now, this is a really interesting one, and I'll be curious to hear from people in the chat and people who are watching today, is this idea of protection and needing to protect our open centers. Our open centers, I've got the open head, ajna, spleen, sacral, and root. And so when I first came into human design, had heard a lot from different teachers in different places about how important it is to protect our open centers. Now, as human beings, we all have an energy field that is around us. We have an auric field around us. We talk about how manifestors have more of a closed aura, or, when we look at reflectors, they have more of the sampling aura, and generators types having more of that inviting aura. And I think that it's really important to recognize that we do, to some degree, need to protect our space. It would be, and by protection, the word I really like to use more so than protection is this idea of having energetic boundaries, these energetic boundaries between you and me that help me to understand how I want to connect with someone, right? What's the level of comfort that I have with another human being or another person in terms of my energetic exchange with that person? So we're not going to throw this idea of energetic protection completely out the door today. That's not my intention, is to throw that out the door, but to maybe start to actually look at the idea of energetic protection in a different way, where it's not so much about like, I've got, an open head and ajna, and I've got to keep your defined head and ajna energy out. Right? It's not so much about that, so much as, to me, and we'll talk about this today, is understanding how I interact with that energy. which I think can be really empowering. One kind of might come from a bit of a place of scarcity of I've got to protect myself. I'm not safe around this energy, versus the other one comes from, I think, a bit more of a place of abundance of going, how do I interact with this energy? How does this energy feel for me? What am I picking up on through this energy that I'm receiving through my openness in the chart? I'm going to check the chat just quickly. We've got the chat popping off over here, which I love. Amazing. Okay, we've got a lot of openness. Beautiful, everybody. Okay, so let's talk about inconsistency, right? We talk a lot in human design about inconsistency in our open centers. That especially if you're like me, either a manifestor, projector, or a reflector, or calibrator, alchemist, initiator, if you're using quantum human design language, that you don't have that sacral center that's consistently lit up. And so we talk a lot about how do we kind of ride that inconsistent wave of energy. I know for me personally, we'll talk about this later on today. With that sacral center, I've lived with people who have a defined sacral center, and I seem like I can go all the time if I'm unaware of the fact, and I'm not in a place of, which we'll talk about in a little bit again, discernment. I'll think it's mine, and then I'm superwoman, and I'm up late, and I'm continuing to work, and then when that person leaves my space, I've had the tendency to crash and burn when I've not been in a good place of discernment. So we talk a lot about this inconsistency of what we experience here. And I think it's really important to be able to understand, when are we picking up on the energy of someone else through our open centers, so that we can understand and start to regulate and modulate and use that maybe borrowed energy, if you will, in a way that's going to serve you, as opposed to a way that maybe depletes or burns out or can be confusing in a certain way. So let's carry on. These are really important conversations to be having around deconditioning, protection, and inconsistency in these energy centers. Again, and I don't want to throw them out the window. However, today I want to introduce maybe another concept into the mix. And I want to look at the opportunities and the power within our open centers. So again, if I haven't said it enough in the past, how long have we been on here? 17 minutes. Our open centers are really here to experience the environment and the world around us. They take energy and information in. And I personally believe that one of our greatest opportunities with our open centers is to learn discernment and understanding when that energy is coming into our space and when that energy is coming into our sphere. And yes, again, deconditioning, creating those energetic boundaries, et cetera, are important. And I think learning what that energy feels like and how we relate to this energy when it comes in is just as important. So again, to me, I call this discernment. If we can learn to discern with our open centers, they can really become our greatest gifts and assets in our work and in our lives. So let's talk about discernment in our open centers for just a little bit. So I like to use this analogy, and I actually used this on a call the other day, about our definition and our openness using the idea of the pitcher and the catcher in the baseball game. I guess, was that the umpire? Are they the same thing? I don't know. The catcher. I never played. I think I picked dandelions and did cartwheels in softball when I was a kid, and then went into dance and cheerleading and all that stuff. So I'm not great with my sports lingo, but we're going to go pitcher and we're going to go with the catcher. I like to think about our definition in the chart as the pitcher. It's constantly throwing energy and information out into the field and the world around us. I know that Karen will say, I've heard her talk sometimes about her defined head and ajna, and how sometimes she can send thoughts out into the room for people to pick up on. And the nice open head and ajna is picking up on those thoughts and maybe perhaps thinking that they're theirs. When we're looking at our definition, the definition is always throwing energy out into the world around it. It is very consistent in the way that it's throwing that energy out into the world around it. Your open centers are the catcher's mitt. They're constantly catching information from the environment around them. And so it's really important, I think, to be able to use that visual, because even if you are somebody who has great energetic boundaries and you're constantly doing your energetic clearing and you're clearing energy from your field, if you know these types of practices, I still believe that your openness, you're still going to be picking up on energy from the environment around you. I don't think there's a way to just simply block out information and energy from your open centers, because open centers are designed to experience that energy in a variable way. They're designed to experience that energy around certain people, and perhaps, not experience it around certain people. And when you're by yourself, maybe not have that same experience of that energy. And so I like to use the analogy of the catcher's mitt, because it allows me to go, what information am I maybe catching in this moment through my openness that perhaps I didn't have access to before? For anybody here who lives by themselves or has lived by themselves before, or you just have a space where you can go for yourself, that's your safe haven. Maybe it's your bathroom, maybe it's your bedroom, maybe it's the garage, maybe it's your car, where you can have this opportunity to actually sit and be connected to your own energy and just take the time. I like to do a little check-in before I go into a situation, before I go into a meeting, or before I, teach a class, or I'm going to be around a person or hang out with a friend. And I love to just do a quick little check-in. What am I feeling in my physical body? What emotions are coming up? What thoughts are running through my mind? And I'll actually go through my open centers as well. I've got the open spleen. Are there any fears that I am holding on to right now? Any circular thoughts that are coming up in my mind that I'm looped on or stuck on, and really check in and tune in and go, what energy feels like it's mine in this moment? Or am I holding on to some energy from earlier in the day that I don't want to bring into this next step that I'm going through in my day, going out with a friend or hanging out with, somebody, or teaching a class, or whatever it may be? Because I think we do pick up on and hold on to energy, again, often maybe through our openness a bit more amplified. So we'll go deeper into that. When you are with somebody who has definition, I think you're really gaining an opportunity to experience that energy in a particular way. So if I'm hanging out with my friend Robert, who I know is a generator, when I'm with him, I get to actually experience the way that he puts sacral energy out into the world, and the way that, it's created and generated through him. If I'm with somebody, I have a woman that I work with who actually have hired all people who have defined head ajnas, and one woman who has defined head and ajna, and I'm with her, I get to experience the way that she personally, her flavor of defined head and ajna energy. Even if I'm with somebody who maybe has an energy center that's open, I might get to experience the way that that center is conditioned through them, or the unique way that they like to express that energy that day, right? Because we know there can be that variability with our open centers. And so when we come into this place, again, of we're all sentient beings, and we're always going to be picking up on information from the world and the environment around us, even if we're creating energetic boundaries. The question that I've started to ask is, how do I handle and relate to that energy as it comes into my space? Okay, so as opposed to it being like, I've got to block it out, or I don't want to experience somebody else's conditioning, it's when I feel that energy, when I'm in the presence of the energy, when my catcher's mitt is open and I'm hanging out with Robert's sacral energy, right? His life force energy, the way that he creates, and that life force moves through him. How am I relating to it, right? Am I using it and running off of it and thinking like, oh, this must be mine, it's here, I've got to use it now while it's here because it's not going to be here forever? Or do I get to actually be able to relate to Robert in a deeper way, to actually get to understand him a little bit better and understand how he functions and how he operates when I'm in that space with him, and to know that yeah, that's what I get to experience when I'm with this person. Um, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's carry on. Um, so I would love to give you an example of this. So we can just chat a little bit about what this could look like if we were coming from a place with our open centers of, I've got to protect myself, or, I don't want to hold on to somebody else's conditioning, or whatever it may be when we're in that space with somebody else, versus if we come from this place of recognizing that our open centers actually give us an opportunity to get closer to other people, to understand other people. And if you're in a service profession, like you're using, you're working with human design, or you're a coach, or you do healing work, or whatever it may be, that you can actually use your open centers to serve your clients in a deeper way. So this is my chart on the right, and this is my bestie's chart from growing up. And this was, I loved kind of being able to look at her chart and my chart and the connection between us, because she was like my ride or die growing up. And so it's really neat to be able to see her chart and my chart and how our energies run together, and where her openness fills in my definition. And really neat, because obviously between the two of us, we create an entire chart, even though she's a projector and I'm a manifestor, and we create that nice sacral energy together. When I actually kind of looked at naturally, what was our relationship as best friends growing up? We did everything together. And what were the ways in which she, her definition kind of led in certain ways, and my definition led in certain ways. And then where were we actually able to use our openness to support each other in a really natural and beautiful way? And then also, where were there challenges, right? Where were there maybe challenges in the relationship through our openness? So I want to just speak to, again, when we were together, I had the opportunity to experience the wisdom of her defined head and ajna, her spleen and her root. And she had that opportunity to experience like the wisdom of my defined solar plexus and will center. And I want to talk about this idea of, if she and I were in this place of kind of going like protection mode from the open centers versus that discernment and the gift of the open centers. So let's talk a little bit about protection mode. And I'm going to just go back to this chart up here, these charts, so you can take a look here. If we kind of came into this place of like protection mode, I want to protect my open centers, we might come from a place of, okay, she's got that open solar plexus and I've got that defined solar plexus. And to be quite honest, she would probably also very much agree with this, I was very emotional as a child. My emotions were always rolling up and rolling down. Now, with her open emotional solar plexus, we know that the open emotional solar plexus really has this ability to tune into emotions and emotional energy, right? She might be like, I'm so overwhelmed. Like I can't be in this space, right? I don't want to pick up on Jess's emotions. I don't want to experience them. It's too much to be in that energy. And if she can learn that discernment, and she can stay in that place of going, oh, here's where, this is how I know I'm in a neutral place right before I hang out with Jess. And when I hang out with her, suddenly I'm feeling a lot of intensity of, let's say, anger, for example, or I'm feeling a lot of sadness. The opportunity is, instead of kind of being in that lower expression of the emotional solar plexus, which is I want to people please and keep somebody happy, I want to keep her happy, I don't want to make her upset. The opportunity actually could be, hey, Jess, how are you feeling today? I'm kind of feeling like I'm feeling a little bit of sadness or anger, what's coming up? How are you doing? And then what can happen there is that I believe I see it. We can think of it like, the pitcher and the catcher are hanging out together. I can throw, some of that energy she gets to, as I'm throwing it out, she's taking it and going, hey, good throw, right? Like that was that way that energy's coming out. And here's how you did. Let me throw it back to you so that you can understand it a little bit better. And so then we can actually start to work through. And what I mean by that is, if I'm throwing out, anger that she's experiencing, I can express it, and she might be able to really help me to understand it in a deeper way because of her openness. And then she can serve it back. And suddenly I'm like, oh, wow, you know what? Like that anger maybe is starting to dissipate a little bit. Maybe I'm understanding it in a deeper way. And maybe I throw another thing out there and she's like, yep, let me help you understand and experience the energy that you're experiencing in this moment. I think we can actually we can really start to see our open centers as these true gifts to be able to go, I don't have to hold on to this, or I don't have to take responsibility for this, but I can actually use this to help you better understand yourself. A lot of the times with definition, we don't even know what we're putting out there because it's so innate to us to always be, continually putting it out into the environment around us in the sort of the way that we're being in the world. And so again, even looking at something such as that, define the definition in, let's see, for her, like her head and ashna, right? In that protection mode, it might be, I always joked around as a kid. I said, I don't think I developed a frontal lobe as a child because she was always organizing and she had really logical ways of looking at things and structuring and, putting things together. And so she always did the organizing. That was her gift. It was not mine, still not my gift. Right. And so in one way, I might go, wow, I feel all of this pressure to have to be able to do things the way that my best friend is doing them, or see them the way she is, or organizing them the way that she is. And yet, if we actually look at the gift of it, I might really be able to support her in looking at any places where she's getting stuck in that very mental energy for herself, where she's needing help getting out of maybe a loop that she's having around the way that she is seeing something, structuring something, and getting maybe a bit caught in that mental energy. And then back and forth, I can help her to work through that, maybe belief systems that are coming up, or again, ways of structuring that aren't serving her, or whatever way she might be getting in her head. And then that comes back to that analogy where we can sort of pitch and catch, with our information, with our openness and our definition. And I think being able to do that for each other can be a really powerful gift. So again, thinking about this, maybe let's say you're wanting to work with people, you're wanting to be able to serve people, being able to look at your openness and say, what's open here? I find a lot of the time in a conscious way with that open sacral center for myself, it's, wow, I can actually help someone see where they're burning out. Now, if I'm unconscious of it and I'm unconscious of how I'm relating to the energy, I might say, hey, I want to fuel myself off of your manifesting generator rocket fuel that's coming out of your sacral today, right? And I might get sort of caught in that energy, thinking that energy is mine. But if I'm actually very aware of my openness and I start to attune myself to my openness, I actually can really understand, again, maybe how to use it in a way to support myself, but also how can I use it in a way that's my openness to support someone who's maybe in a chronic state of doing and burning themselves out. So I think becoming really aware of your openness, aware of how you can use it to support the people around you and to also support yourself is very important, because it also, as we become aware of our openness, we have the opportunity to be able to say as well, what's my natural rhythm with this energy? If it's inconsistent for me, if this sacral energy is inconsistent for me, or that solar plexus energy is inconsistent, or maybe that, head najna energy, whatever it may be, it's how do then I use that energy, that inconsistency, in a way that then serves me as well? So I can create in a way that's in alignment with my own natural rhythm and my own natural flow. So we're going to move on along. Yeah, and Barbara just said this. I love this, Barbara. I hear you. And it can also feel that with all of my open centers, I'm often in that listening, offering insight to others, and just need to be alone to feel me 100%. I don't think we ever have to just be in a place of obligation because of our open centers of saying, I'm open. So now this is what I have to be doing all of the time, is being in other people's energy, right? I think that it's important to understand what your openness is so you can see the gift in it, as well as be able to take time to yourself to recharge, to discharge energy, to release energy. And to also just experience the way that you experience that energy for yourself when you are by yourself. So I think at the same time, that comes back to this idea of energetic boundaries as well, of I don't always have to be in that role, right? I might be overextending myself if I'm constantly in that role. And so understanding, how much do I have to maybe give at this point? And then where do I need to receive for myself as well? Thank you, Barbara. I think it's a great point. So I would love to cycle through the open centers and just kind of touch on how you can start to use your open centers as the beautiful gifts that they are. And again, really keeping in the forefront of our mind as well. This does not mean that you are obligated to have to do that for other people, but that you really get that choice to choose how you want to use it, and who you want to use that wisdom with. I like to keep two questions in my mind as I work with and think about the concept of discernment mode. And again, one of those questions is, how am I relating to this energy as it comes in? Sometimes it can be triggering to be in a certain type of energy as well. Maybe it's triggering to be in that willpower energy. Do I hold conditioning that maybe at one point I was around somebody who had that will center energy, that like, let's get up, let's go, let's make things happen. That's how it was kind of relayed to you. And you were really unaware of human design. You were unaware of how your open will center, functioned for yourself. So now, and you ended up burning out or feeling as though, you had some worthiness stuff come up because you felt you couldn't stay in that heart energy. Did that create a story for you around that energy of like, this energy doesn't feel safe to be around, or doesn't feel good to be around because of this past experience that I had, which again brings us into that level of conditioning. So I think it's really important, or again, like I was talking about with that sacral energy, if I'm in it and I'm kind of gas guzzling off of that sacral energy, that somebody else has that I don't have access to, how am I relating to the energy as it comes in? And with that, is there anything that I need to shift about how I relate to that energy as it comes in for myself? Is there a way that I want to decondition or do some healing around that energy? As well as like, what's this energy teaching me in this moment? What am I learning by being able to be in this energy in this moment? Let's dive on in, y'all. Okay. So I would love to just go center by center, and just kind of talk about the ways in which I've experienced, and I believe we can use our open centers again to be able to support other people and be able to support ourselves at the end of the day. Because I think we need to be able to serve from an open cup as well when we're working with others. So first and foremost, with the open head, the open crown, this is the center of inspiration. I believe that we have the ability to be deeply tuned into the inspiration of other people. And I think, well, I don't believe that, I know that. And I think that one of the gifts here is this ability to actually be able to support people in understanding their inspirations and working with their inspirations. I think with the open head center, it's really important to be using our own. If anybody here has an open head center and you've had this experience before of tuning into somebody's inspiration, thinking that it's yours, and then getting on the bandwagon, and then all of a sudden being like, oh my goodness, that I'm uninspired, or I no longer want to follow that idea, please drop it in the chat. I know I used to do that a lot when before I was unaware of the power of this open center. But I actually think, again, maybe you have an opportunity to be able to support people in understanding how to, again, discern or how to work with their own inspirations and what's inspiring them. Again, really important to be tuned into your strategy and authority as it relates to following your own inspirations. So maybe you're in the energy of somebody who's deeply inspiring, and you're maybe at a conference or something like this, and you're kind of, I'm going to just say like drunk off of inspiration while you're there. Really important to be tuned into yourself, your strategy, your authority to be able to say, is this mine, right? Is this actually my inspiration to follow? Or am I just amped up off of what's happening here? And again, in a situation where you are connecting with someone or you're with somebody, to be able to support them with their inspiration, I think is a really beautiful part of the defined head center. Let's go into the open mind. Did I say defined head center? I think I said defined, but I mean open head center. So open, the open mind, open ajna, the center of idea and logic. So you might find that you're tuned into and connected with others' thoughts and belief systems, that you're really able to tune into other people's thoughts. I know the other day I was really wanted a salad at this place in Fort Lauderdale, and I went in because I was like, that's what I want. And when I got inside, I saw there was a kimchi bowl. And I know Karen talks about this as well, but I thought it was a really amazing example of this. And I don't even really like kimchi, but in the moment I was like, do I want that kimchi bowl? And then all of a sudden, like, I thought I really wanted it. And I said, I don't think I want that kimchi bowl. I don't think this is mine. And of course, the guy in front of me goes up to the counter and he says, I'm going to do the kimchi bowl. And I was like, oh, that's exactly why, because I don't even like kimchi. So I think that, again, you might find that you are more tuned into others' thoughts, beliefs, the way that they think. And so really being able to use that open center as well to maybe understand the way that someone is thinking. If you can develop that discernment or really understanding what thoughts are mine, what beliefs are mine, which ones are not. See some stuff in the chat going off. Yeah, I do that often. Totally. Okay. Let's go into the throat center, the center of manifestation. I think you can really support people in helping them reflect their words back to them and how they're speaking their truth. I know with the open throat, a lot of people can talk about feeling this sort of pressure to speak or pressure to have the right words to say. And I often find with the open throat that it is, you have the right words to say in the right moment, that sort of idea of quality over quantity. But again, being able to really kind of catch the wisdom of what it is that someone's trying to express or how they're wanting to express themselves. The G center, the center of the self, I think has this innate ability to be able to tune into a person's higher self wisdom, like the energy of who this person truly is their higher self, as well as being able to be tuned into the person's sense of lovability and self-worth. Now, again, if you're really unaware of the wisdom of this center, the wisdom of your openness here, and you're around someone who's got some really deep self-worth stuff going on, in that moment, again, if we're not practicing that discernment and knowing that that's something that you often pick up on, you might not realize that perhaps it's something that you're picking up on in the energy in the room around you. And so I think, again, really asking ourselves, if you have that open G center, how do you relate to that energy when it comes in? When you feel somebody come in who's maybe is struggling with some self-worth stuff or feels is pretty disconnected, from that true essence of self, does it make you kind of freeze up and tense up and go, oh, I shouldn't say anything and I've got to kind of people please and whatever it may be? Or can you actually relax into it and recognize, oh, maybe there's a conversation, again, with permission from somebody. We don't want to just be going in and being like, hey, I think you've got, low self-worth problems, right? But can it actually open up a conversation? Is it a doorway and a gateway with somebody to actually grow into deeper connection if that's somewhere that you want to go with that person? Again, always employing our boundaries and our as well as like, what are my boundaries? What are this other person's boundaries as we sort of tune into how we want to use this energy. And I think too, using that idea of catching and releasing energy of if you're picking up on it and it's somebody that you're standing next to, in line for a salad bowl, you might not want to go there with that person, but being able to actually with love and compassion, release it from, that center of your being as you feel it. Maybe you give that person a smile or whatever it may be. There's a lot of opportunity to, again, learn how to discern and feel, is this mine? Does it belong to somebody else? And again, how do I relate to that energy when it comes in? Who do I tell myself I need to be? Or is there something I'm telling myself I need to do with that energy? All right. let's look at the open will center. So the open will is the center of willpower. But for me, I feel like there's an ability to be able to sense someone's heart. How hard are they pushing? Are they aligning with that energy of higher purpose and of the heart? Or are they aligning with sheer force with what they're doing of just trying to make things happen? And so I actually think that for the defined heart, for the defined will, which I have the defined will, it's really important to have people in your life who've got this open center to say, maybe you're pushing with too much force, or you're trying too hard. So I think too, again, if you feel that energy coming in and you can feel that defined will and it feels really intense, is there opportunity in there to actually be able to say, ooh, maybe there's an intensity there with this person, right? There's an intensity with that push or with that force energy that's coming through them. And, I don't have to hold on to it. I don't have to do anything from it. And is there a way to be able to support that person in knowing that maybe they're pushing and doing too much as well? All right, let's go into the open emotional center. And again, I think we have to take time and space again to ourselves to cleanse, to clear, to get out of the energy when it feels too much with our open centers as well. And again, this is why I think we're just adding that layer of discernment as well to the conversation. With the open emotional center, there's really this beautiful ability to be able to reflect back to others their emotional energy and support them in understanding what they're feeling and experiencing. And so again, I think with this center, taking time away when you're feeling that intensity for yourself, and to be able to say, maybe there's opportunity here to help this person understand what they're experiencing, in a way where I'm not taking it on and going, again, I've got to people please or tiptoe around, or I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, but really being able to highlight and amplify for them maybe what their experience is with that center. Open sacral center. So this is the center of life force energy. And you can feel into and sense how someone is using their energy and their natural vitality. Again, I think with all of these as well, it's really important to have a level of permission with somebody. You don't want to just be going in and saying, this is what I think, you're experiencing, but to be able to just kind of be aware and be present and develop some mindfulness around the energies that are swirling around the space and swirling around the room that you're in, or the environment that you're in. And so again, I think the open sacral center, it's really beautiful to be able to, sense is someone doing too much, is someone doing too much with their energy, and to be able to support and that person maybe even in guiding and directing their life force energy in a way that really supports their natural vitality. The open root center, the center of stress regulation. So being very sensitive to the stress, energy, and pressure from others. Again, is there sort of a push to make things happen here, but really being able to understand that stress energy as somebody might be experiencing, and that in their life. And I agree with Donna. Donna said it would be really nice to learn the basics of this during childhood. I always thought the feelings, emotions, etc., that come with open centers were mine. Totally. And again, I think that this is where being in our own experience and learning our own energy in our own field is so critically important, because especially when we're kids, we're just, as humans, we're very sentient beings. I don't think it's possible to not feel and experience energy of other people, and to put ourselves into a bubble. But I do think we can learn to regulate it, and we can learn to discern with that energy as it comes in, and start to learn too, have I been holding on to energy with my open energy centers in a way where I've taken responsibility for others' energies, or I felt I have to tiptoe around, or, I'm afraid to speak up or to say something in the face of, whatever is showing up in my world or my experience around me. And so I think, again, like being able to understand and discern to say, energy's coming in, it's not necessarily my energy. What does it feel like to experience that can be a really big gift to us. And I think shifting our relationship with that energy is incredibly powerful as well, shifting the way we relate to it when it comes in. Because for me, I've got the open spleen. If anybody here has the open spleen, it's very easy to pick up on other people's fears. So when that fear energy comes in, is there an immediate reaction that says, oh, this energy is mine? Like I am fearful in this moment. If I talk to my mom on the phone and she's in a state of fear around something, do I immediately pick it up and go, oh my gosh, it's mine. And now I need to do X, Y, and Z with this fear energy that I'm experiencing to, fix it? Or am I in a space where I'm going, wow, that's really interesting that that's what that feels like. That's really interesting that I actually get this opportunity to, talk to my mom, experience the fear that she's experiencing and understand her in a little bit of a better way. And again, I think that just takes that time and working that discernment muscle so that we can actually, again, come into that wisdom and be able to support others and ourselves in that moment, recognizing that these are some of our natural and innate gifts to be able to share with others. So with the spleen, yeah, Donna says, I always feel the need to fix it. Yeah, I think that's a big challenge for a lot of people. And again, I think that's where discernment for us is a practice. I don't think it's a light switch that we flip on to say like, now I can discern and like, now I can't discern. I think it's just this opportunity that we get every day to be able to become aware of the experiences that we're having, to become mindful of the experiences that we're having. And especially in this day and age where we get to kind of turn on social media or turn on the TV or turn on whatever it is. And there's a lot of energy, an abundance of energy that's flying around the airwaves that we're constantly picking up on. And I think it gives us an opportunity to be able to say, again, what's mine? What's not mine? How am I relating to this energy? Do I need space? How do I want to understand that this openness can be a gift? And at the same time, again, recognize how I want to interact with that energy. What feels good for me? What are my boundaries, etc. And my just personal boundaries in general. So the open spleen center, I think there's an ability to really be able to pick up on and sense others' fears, and also be able to understand their intuition and how their intuition comes through for them, and trusting their own intuition and the way it comes through. So in our exploration of our open centers, again, what if your open centers are gifting you the ability to also, I think about this, heal deeper generational patterns through exploration. So if I, again, look at something like the open spleen, right? If I've been conditioned growing up to have these certain particular fears that have run through my family, well, in our openness, we have all of this opportunity for variability and to shift patterns. And so what if, just a what if question, what if my open centers and my openness are really gifting me this ability to heal these patterns that have been around for generations through my family, and through my own lineage, and maybe, even societally, etc. And yes, it is important to recognize that, again, our open centers do magnify energy. They do amplify energy often. And again, I think this is this idea, right, of being able to say, my example of when I was in sacral energy and didn't realize that I was amplifying it, right? I'd go all day long. But to actually be able to discern, just to create that discernment to say, oh, this isn't mine, right? And I'm amplifying this energy in this moment. How can I actually, again, catch and release this energy, work with this energy while it's here, but not take it in and act as though it's mine? How can I start to discern in that moment and have that mindfulness to know that I'm getting to experience this in this moment through the way that somebody else is expressing it? So I would love to invite you to dive deeper into the gifts of your open centers with some specific practices that you can use to deepen your discernment abilities and to continue to live more consistently in the gift of your openness. So I am offering a class on September 9th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time called Intuition and Your Open Centers. And so through this, we are going to, it's a 90-minute class. We're going to dive into your chart to support you in understanding your intuition and energetic sensitivities through the lens of the openness in your chart. We're going to move through each center, diving into the intuitive wisdom each center has to offer. So we're basically going to go through the centers in a deeper way. And I'm also going to give you practices and exercises to support you with deepening your discernment abilities within each center so that you can feel really empowered by these centers and understand the gifts that come along with each center. And again, have these exercises to be able to discern, am I in that sacral, somebody else's sacral energy, right? What do I do about that? How do I support myself in this moment? And you'll also gain a deeper understanding of how you can use these open centers to support others through your work. So if you do work with other people, you'll be able to gain a deeper understanding again of how to use these centers to to catch information and toss it back. So if you are interested in joining us, you can head over to jessbubbico.com/open centers to grab your seat. It's $97. I'm going to be closing the doors on Monday. So I'm going to just keep a very short enrollment window open. But I would love to have you join me if you feel called to join again. Actually, I think I'm going to close it. We're going to close it on Tuesday of this coming week. So you can head over to jessbubbico.com/open centers to grab your seat. Enrollment is going to end on Tuesday. And we're going to have a lot of fun. So if you feel inspired by what we talked about today and you want to go deeper into your open centers, please, by all means, join us. I would absolutely love to have you there. Thank you for your time today. It was really awesome to connect with you. Again, remember the word of the day is discernment. And for yourself, the invitation is just practice with this. Like I think it's this idea that practice makes perfect. You know, we're never going to get it exactly right, but if we can reframe and really understand in our minds that it's not just that we have opportunity here with our openness, and we're not necessarily any victim to it, but that we have an opportunity to actually really work with that energy, a lot of doors can open in our life and in our experience. So thank you all for connecting today. Again, you can head over to jessbubbico.com/open centers, and I'll drop that as well into the chat. If you do feel called to join us, I would absolutely love to have you and love to meet you. And again, you can connect with me at jessbubbico.com and over on Instagram at Jess Bubbico. We are launching the new brand on September 1st, which I believe is Wednesday of next week. And I'm very, very excited to share it with all of you. So I will hopefully see you there.